Good afternoon, everybody. How are you doing? How are you doing out there? I've been speaking to a few people that are actually struggling emotionally, struggling mentally, at peace, okay, but just like it's almost like they just something's come over them and they're just struggling to push themselves, to motivate themselves. And I wanted to get on here to share my experience of the last few days, which have been tough. Basically, I have felt quite heavy, quite I don't know if oppressive is the right word, but struggling with motivation. And those of you who know, you know my history of overcoming mental health, 35 years of depression. And some of the ways that I was feeling, I recognized the triggers from my time of indulging and being consumed by the pressure, the mental pressure in my head, and that feeling of feeling so unmotivated, having things to do, but just not somehow being able to connect with the willpower to do it. And there's a lot of things that, I can get through, exciting things, good things, that if I actually utilize this time wisely, will put me in a really good position for when everything gets back, to normal. But no matter how much I tried to motivate myself, I just couldn't do it. And I was speaking to a few people and like encouraging them to take little baby steps, to motivate themselves and to push them. And some people listened, some people didn't. So one of the things that I had to do was literally, I know that regardless of how I feel, I can't stay in that mode. It's if I stay in that mode, then I am entertaining how I'm feeling, and then I just stay there. I stayed there for 35 years. I haven't got the time or the energy to give any more of myself to that mindset. So one of the first things that I did was yesterday morning, I got up and I changed my house around. People laugh at me because they're like, why is it every time I come to your house, it's changed around? And it just keeps me mentally stimulated. I get bored if it looks the same way. And the way that my living room was changed around for the winter months was a nice sort of cozy enclosed sort of setting, and I wanted it to look more spacious and more airy. So I have, don't laugh at me, I have like a winter one, I have like a spring one, and then I have a summer one, right? But that's another subject altogether. So I changed it around to like my spring one, and as I was doing it, I was cleaning, and earlier, I think a couple of days, I posted a post about this, and just doing that, it lifted the mood. There was a lot more sunlight coming in to my flat. Opened the windows, had some British fresh air coming in, and that lifted the mood. And then I went out, and then I came home, and slightly in a better place, but still like, oh my gosh, you got to do this, you got to do that. Oh yeah, I'll do it tomorrow. I know better than, do not buy into that I'll do it tomorrow unless you actually have a plan for doing it tomorrow. So again, I went back to, last year when I was, writing my second book and completing it, and I pushed myself to get up at 4 o'clock every morning because had a goal, and it's so important. We hear all these people talk about having a goal, having a routine. It's not hearsay, you have to have it. So if your routine before involved you getting up and going to work, doing ABCD, and like me, the job that I took on a job for a year, and the job that I took on, I can't do that at home. So I'm at home, so therefore I have to find something else to fill that space. But I have enough projects going on in my life, right, to take up that space and then some. But like I said, I couldn't motivate myself. So what I did last night, it was like, right, you have to have a conversation with yourself. Are you going to stay there, or are you going to do something about it? And it's like, Jem, you can't stay here. So I wrote down a long list on my mirror of all the things I was going to do today, but with my times, because I like to put my times near it. And that kicked off at 5 o'clock in the morning with my early morning prayer group. But I usually get up at 3:30. I know it's early. I usually get up at 3:30. So at about 3:30 this morning, I was awake, and I was like, oh, I'll just lie down until about 4:30. It's like, no, James, you need to get up now and utilize it. So I got up, and I spent time reading my Bible and just having some more quiet, intimate time with God. And then at 6 o'clock, sorry, at 5 o'clock, I then started to go through my schedule. So 5 until 6, it was prayer with my group, and then 6 until 6:30, I spent more time reading my Bible, journaling, and then I even put exercise in. Now, last year I broke my ankle, so I was not able to do any exercise. And then just as they released me to do exercise with my physio, they went and shut the gym. So I exercised for the first time in I don't know how many months. Did I feel like doing it? No, but it was on the list, and I didn't try to, lift 100 pounds after like not working out for like how many months. I just did some stretches, I did a few lunges, I did some of my physio exercises, and again, I knew if I did that, I was ready to get those endorphins running and so forth. So now I've gone from changing the room around and lifting my mood. I've written, my list, and I'm getting up and I'm executing it. And as I'm doing it, and I'm ticking it off, and if you do this, you will literally find your mood lifting, because when you don't do it and you're just drifting, those thoughts in your head at the end of the day make you feel like telling you haven't done anything. They make you feel useless and worthless. Even if you have the smallest list, the mere fact that you've executed that list, it lifts the mood and it shuts down the argument that tells you that you haven't done anything, because you've done something. So now it doesn't matter that you're relaxing watching TV, because you can do so with a clear conscience that you've done everything. So, I had my list and all these things that I needed to start working on that I've been putting off. I put them on the list and I put them into different time brackets and started working on them. And you know what has been fantastic is that I challenged myself with 3 areas of things that I was like, oh my gosh, I've got to do this. And I went into it with a I can do this mentality. You've got to make the most of this time that you aren't working mentality and get on and do it. And I found that just by persevering, I made such wavelengths in these 3 different areas. One of them was starting to write the synopsis for my second book. The subject matter is so vast. And it was just like, wow. And I also incorporated lunch into there and incorporated an afternoon prayer walk and coming back home, meditating, reflecting and journaling. So my point for getting on here is that there are some people that are doing fine. They're not struggling with any mental issues or anything like that. But there are some people that are struggling. And if you cannot, if you're in an unconfined space, try and change your room around, because it changes the room. It kind of changes the scenery. It changes the mindset. Tidy up your house. Make sure that the house is just tidy, it's clutter free, because that is going to clear your mindset. Go out for a walk. Either go to a park or just go up the road for a walk. If you can't go out for the walk, if that's not possible, then go to the balcony, stand on the balcony. If you can't do that, look out the window, but try and face towards the sunlight and get some of that what is the vitamin that's in the sun? I don't know, vitamin D. I know there's not much sun, but get that daylight. It might not be warm, hot outside, but it's bright outside. So do your best to get out for a bit, or just, look out of the window. Make sure you eat. On my list, I had breakfast, because when you're feeling low, you don't feel like eating. So I had breakfast incorporated in there. I had lunch incorporated in there. These are the things that we have to do. It doesn't matter you looking at a post and somebody inspiring you and giving you great words of encouragement, if at the end of it you still go back into your same mode. There has to be certain stuff that we are responsible for. So I know that as much as I don't suffer with manic depression no more, I know that I get triggers. So I'm aware of my triggers, and I have things set in place so that when those triggers occur, I know what it is that I have to do to come out of it, and I have a strategy in place for what I have to do when I don't feel like doing it. And that strategy is literally to write down a list of everything that I want to accomplish for the next day or the next week or so, but break it down into days and put it into time slots. And then when I wake up and it's there and I do each one, I tick it off, and it really does make a huge difference. It really does lift my mood. So like I said, I know that this isn't for everybody, but some of the people who I've been speaking to, you know who you are. This will be really, really good for you. What's happened as a result of me just doing that? Today, that heaviness, that oppression is gone, because all I knew was that I needed to get to a position where my will connected with my motivation and we were ready to go. And therefore I had to command my will to do something. And by writing the list and sticking to it, I was commanding my will. And then by actually seeing the steps I was making, that done something to help me, kicked in my motivation. Now I've got my will and my motivation connected together. Now I can focus, and there is no room for that heavy, oppressive mental feeling. And because I've achieved something, because I can see the fruit of my labor, it what's the word, it ignites that motivation. So if that helps you, then please run with it. And yeah, that's it basically for today. We don't know how long we're going to be in this situation, so each individual literally has to come up with their own strategy of how they're going to maintain their mental well-being. And there are so many wonderful people out there who are sharing their stories, sharing information on how to maintain it. But at the end of the day, you and I have to implement it. Okay, you can sit here, you can watch this and say, yeah, great, thumbs up, love that, wonderful. But then you have to implement it. So that's just some simple points. Have a great evening, and you know what? Stay safe, stay safe. Somebody who I know has been diagnosed with the virus. Bit of a shock. Was a bit emotional yesterday about it, but managed to speak to them and send them some love and just praying for them. So guys, stay safe, keep safe, and yeah, that's it. Hope this helps.